Hello, Kent from Pave Tool here. Thanks for renting our Allrounder. And in this video, just wanted to run through the basic steps of how to run this machine. From starting it, to lifting up the boom, to then actually adjusting the suction and all that. So this will be helpful for you guys, so you know how to operate the machine right from the start. Inside the manual box here on the machine, which I'll show you, is all the step-by-step guides, including our Allrounder setup manual, the Optima's manual, and the Honda engine manual. So these three things should get you through operating the machine. So before we get started on the details of how to start the machine, let's just make sure that that emergency button is pulled out so that the machine can start. So starting the machine, make sure that the fuel is on. We can turn on our choke. Make sure our throttle is up. This is all the way down. We want to bring it up about halfway. And if it's a warm start, we can turn that choke off. And here's the electric start key. Just turn the key. While operating the machine, we always want to run our throttle full throttle. So to operate the machine, normally we would be on full throttle, but for video purposes, I've turned down the throttle. What we would do is we would drop the stand, we could step up onto the platform, and then we're going to operate the machine by moving the two outer units forward. And to go in reverse, you move backwards. So each joystick moves each track forward or backwards, so you can use that as well for turning. So once we get the machine in place using the outer joysticks, we can then use the inner joysticks to operate each one of these feet. And this is designed for leveling. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring them down so they're just an inch above the ground, and then we're going to actually operate the arm and put that up into place. So let's move those arms down. Pushing them forward will actually push the arms down, and then pulling those arms back towards you will then lift the arms up. So now we got the outriggers just down, just barely touching the ground, and now we can move on to jacking up that arm. So now that we've gotten the machine placed on the job site properly, as well as the outriggers down to just an inch or so off the ground, we're going to go up to the front portion of the boom. And on this side, you'll see a knob that can be unscrewed. So we're going to unscrew that knob, and we're going to release this arm down. And we can see that that rubber strap there is holding the tube in place. And now we can move on to the next part of jacking up that arm. So now we can take this arm and we'll crank it up clockwise. So we can see that that then dropped in place. That's the locking mechanism. We can then release by going counterclockwise the strap. So we want this strap to be loose so that all pressure is up on this steel mechanism. Okay, so now we need to just take the rubber strap off of the hose so that the hose is free. Okay, so now that the arm is up and set properly, we can then put down our outriggers. And while we're putting down our outriggers, we want to make sure that this machine is perfectly level. And the way we do that is there's a plum-bob on this side. We'll show a close-up video of that. And we want to make sure that that's centered in plumb, so that the machine is centered this way as well as side to side. And we do that by adjusting our outriggers. So now we have adjusted the outriggers. We've gotten that plumb-bob perfectly plumb. So we're good there. So now we've gotten the machine. We've put down our outriggers while watching our plumb-bob on this side. And now that the machine is plumb, we're good to go with the outriggers. So to unlock that main boom arm so that it can swing freely, we want to just pull down on this black L bracket, drop it into place, and make sure it's locked in here at this position. And now you can see that arm swings freely. So now we have the opportunity now that the arm's up and free to move, we can then pull this tube off. We can hook up our extension as well as the pad. First, we need to remove this pin that's in place here so that we can remove our arm. We can pull on our arm to remove it. So we can see the suction head has a piece here that we can set it on, we rotate, and then it locks into place. So I'll show you how that works with the extension. We lock it in so it runs parallel with the unit, and then we spin it, pulling out this pin, and you keep spinning it until that pin locks in place. So this is a pin that I'm talking about. So now that we got our extension foot on, we can then connect it to our pad. So same thing, we center it on that pad, we spin it with pulling up that pin, and we continue to rotate it until that locks in place. So now we have a full setup of our extension and our pad ready to go. For ease of operating the machine as well as starting it up and starting the vacuum, we're going to take this unit, set it right back on the machine. So bring it over, lock it on, as well as putting the pin in place for safety purposes. So now we're ready to engage the vacuum. For video purposes, again, I've turned this machine off so that you guys could hear me well, but we will turn this machine back on. We'll engage our throttle fully, and then we will engage the vacuum, and you'll see that tube then shrink up. So now that we got the vacuum running, we want to come back over, release our pin, and then we can pull that pad off. So once we do the suction, or once we've created the vacuum, we want to get this unit so that it stays right around our waist height. And to do that, we're looking at this knob here where we can operate it without a stone attached to it. So there's no stone attached to the unit. We want to adjust this bottom knob here. So to do so, if we want to go up higher with the unit, we adjust it counterclockwise. And if we want this unit to come down, we adjust it clockwise. This other button over here, this other adjustment, we will adjust when we are lifting up a stone. So now we can go over to the stone. We're going to be pushing down on that lever so we can get down to the stone. And then we will lift up. So by lifting up on the lever, we're now able to lift up that stone. But we want to do one more adjustment so that it's a little bit easier to operate. And that adjustment is going to be this other adjustment up here. So while we're lifting up and holding this stone up in the air, we're going to take this knob, we're going to turn it clockwise. And so now we have it operating so that when I let go, the stone slowly sinks back down to the pallet, which is the recommended way to operate it. So now we can lift up on our arm, we can push down on our arm, we can take our stones, set them in place, and then to release off of the stone, we're going to actually push all the way down on that lever. We're going to pull the pad off on an angle, and then we can lift up on our lever to then lift the tube back up and off of the stone. So once you've used the machine, you've operated it, set your stones where they need to be. To shut down this machine, we want to first take off our extension pieces and then put the arm away. So we can come over to an area, doesn't matter where it's at, but we'll then set this unit down. We're going to make sure that we're holding down on this unit always. We're going to pull up on our lever, and then we can release our pad and bring our vacuum unit over to this point. So again, you might have to do a little bit of adjustment so we can screw this in. That'll allow the unit to get down to that point where we need to put it back on the hook. We drop it back in, we take this pin. So now that we put in our arm back onto the Allrounder, we're gonna go over, shut that vacuum off, and then idle the machine back down. So now that we've gotten the vacuum turned off and the unit idled down, which in this case I turned it off so you can hear me better, we're then going to put our boom all back down. So first, we swing our arm back around. And we're going to drop that lock up top into place. We're next going to connect up our rubber strap. So come over to this side. Wrap it around the back side of the tube and lock it in place up here. So now that we got this rubber strap back in place, we're gonna pull down on this strap, and it's gonna be very easy to pull down on. So pulling down, at the same time we're gonna go clockwise with the strap, lifting it up. Now that this arm has come back and this point right here is loose, we will lift this up and go counterclockwise to then drop this back down. And we're going to come all the way down until that yellow bumper is touching on the steel arm. And all the tension is released off of the strap. So now we got the boom arm down. We just need to lock the arm on the front side. So I'll run over to this side. Make sure we push this arm all the way up. We're going to bring that knob back in place and then tighten it up so that this arm is nice and sturdy. So the main boom is now closed up and locked down and ready for transportation now that we got all the pins and all the screws locked up. That's all we need to do is just bring up the Outriggers and we're ready to transport back to Pave Tool. As we close out this video, we want to thank you for joining us, that we could run through this Allrounder, make sure you're operating it properly and safely. Just as a side note, before you return it, make sure you return it as you had picked it up with full gas, the machine's clean, and ready to return back to Pave Tool so that we can rent it to our next renter. So thanks again for joining us, and certainly give us a call if you got any further questions on how to operate the machine or any other questions about our Pave Tool products.